So tell me a little bit about the Lokpal bill, an anti-corruption bill that's being considered in India now, promoted by activist Anna Hazare. How likely is it to become law, and how effective do you think it could be?
So let me just step back a little
Sure.
bit. The Lokpal bill is actually a little bit like the campaign finance reform in the US. It's a very old bill that has remained through several administrations over the last almost 35 years. And different administrations have attempted to discuss it. And obviously, it is not in the interests of the lawmakers and the politicians to actually put constraints on themselves in terms of being investigated for wrongdoing. So this is an anti-corruption bill that is supposed to specifically address members of parliament, senior government officials, and even state officials, and at one time even included potentially the judiciary. So this is a bill that has remained in parliament for over 35 years called the Lokpal bill. Mm-hmm. Anna Hazare is a unique character. I mean, he is one of the few remaining Gandhians in the country and is absolutely ramrod straight. It's hard to push anything but goodness on him, even by the most cynical, though the few have tried even that, who are even more cynical than most. What he has been trying to do for the last several years, and this suddenly took traction in ways that he probably did not anticipate himself, was the largest movement in India since 1977, when there was an emergency declared by Indira Gandhi's government at the time, and she lost her prime ministership as a result of that high-handedness. This is the largest voluntary, unexpected movement that happened across the country. And this was actually called the Jan Lokpal bill, which is the People's Lokpal bill. So it's kind of giving rebirth to the old Lokpal bill with some very stringent conditions, which not only included the politicians, included the Prime Minister's office as part of the investigative rights of this commission, included even state-level officials and junior officials, and potentially tried to include even the judiciary, which typically has its own oversight mechanism. India is also, by the way, a somewhat litigious society, not as much as we are here, but certainly has a history of litigation and settlement, and there's a lot of precedents there. And so he wanted to also exclude any lack of oversight of the judiciary, and wasn't happy with the oversight mechanism in place. But that resulted in him declaring a hunger strike, which unfortunately the government decided to act on by arresting him. They arrested him because he went on a hunger strike. And then the debate was, where would they actually incarcerate him? And that became the real issue. And that resulted in hundreds of thousands of people signing online at this petition. That mushroomed into millions. And in India, when we talk numbers, we talk big numbers. And there were millions of people within a few days that signed on to this. And the movement was peculiarly led by the young, which is the students, which for the most part had not seen activism for the last 20, 30 years, and by the senior citizens. And so it's almost like some of us in the room are the cynical half, but you saw the bookends of the young and the old coming together. And that resulted in, well, he was very close to being critical, and he continued his starvation for several days. And finally, the parliament unanimously on a voice vote, because people were embarrassed to even count, on a voice vote agreed to acknowledge that they would debate that version of the bill as well in this session. So as we speak, before the end of the year, Parliament is going to take up 3 variations of that bill, and there's a committee that has been set up. And all likelihood is that the Jan Lokpal bill as it stands, with very little modification, will get passed. It will be a historical move for India, maybe the biggest self-reflection of the leadership and the lawmakers.